Manning is a podcaster of weird things, future and past. We wish he'd take his paranormal show and stick it up his.
Charming. Hello, and just got to tell you about the new Scary Era podcast that's coming up. It's a paranormal podcast. I've been working on it, and this is the 26th episode of it. So a small victory of sorts. Anyway, back in the early 1970s, and a lot of you won't remember this, but we did have a great show in Ireland. It was like the show everybody watched, The Late Late Show, long before it became Wokeified and Late Late Light, just saying. And we had this guy, and his name was Gay Byrne, Uncle Gaybo, and he was just, he's world-renowned as just being the quintessential late-night, brilliant, forensically minded broadcaster. He was just great. And he'd have guests coming over from all over the place when you had real guests, like real stars back in the day. But I'm beginning to sound like an owl lad, and I don't want to take away from the paranormal aspect of this. So he had a guy that used to come over called Lyle Watson. And Lyle Watson was originally from South Africa, and he was a doctor or a professor of sorts anyway. He was big into paranormal, supernatural, all that kind of thing. As a matter of fact, that's what Gabo would say, all that sort of thing. As a matter of fact, he wrote a book called Supernature, and he never had to work again. He wrote that book in 1974. He concerned himself largely with all the kind of anomalies we don't understand, like time slips or regeneration of limbs in certain insects, happenings, premonitions, apparitions, poltergeists. All this kind of stuff had the young be-shorted Mark Manning fascinated from his little sofa in Rathmines Barracks, where this guy just intrigued me. Now, he passed away in the early 2000s, but he left a legacy, not just in Supernature, but in many books as well. I constantly harp on about him on the podcast, and I'm also aware a lot of people don't know about him. However, I have been busy on the research front, and I tracked down an interview that he did, which seems to predict almost like uncannily how AI was about to develop. And he's speaking in 1989 at a Japanese lecture he was doing, a Japanese museum in Japan. He was performing a lecture. That's what I meant to say. And it's fascinating where he literally takes an archive of all these strange, I suppose you'd call them strange but true, or stranger things that happened. So you're just going to have to listen to Scary Era Paranormal Podcast to hear it. If I don't get it out tomorrow, it will be out on Sunday on all your platforms you want to shake a stick at. I put a lot of work into it. And then again, there'll be the usual contributions from people all around Ireland on the little section we have called Random Anonymous, Strange But True. Did you really want to hear all that? You probably didn't. Have a good weekend.
Mark Manning is heart of the Satan's Bollocks.